welcome to day 3 of the Genesis of Andrew's Army Advent Calendar for 2024. I believe this is, what, the 7th year I've done this? Because I did it in 2018. We're back with an old format that we've been doing for a long time. Between me and Will, it's our speciality. It's the alignment graph.
It's our little romantic tendency.
I genuinely think it's one of my favorite fun things to do on the channel, is the alignment graph. And it's just something about it.
Aww. And we do, and you've done it exclusively with me, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
Yeah. There's something about the two-axis thing that just works for me. It's like what Kamala Harris says about Venn diagrams. She's like, I just love Venn diagrams.
But speaking of Kamala Harris...
This is being filmed on the 25th of July, 2024. So by the time this video comes out, the election, in theory, should be over.
Indeed. Will we finally have our first female president? I say our, will America, because neither of us two will be affected by it.
Yeah. I have my doubts that Donald Trump will go transgender in the next few months. But that being said, I know that he is... I
wanted to grab her by the pussy, but when all the pussies went away, there's only one alternative left.
He's so egotistical he wants to grab himself by the pussy. Or maybe, and this is really dark, but maybe he would transition so that he can end up in a female prison instead of a male prison.
Good God.
So he can continue his crimes. Anyway, we'll get to Trump near the end of this video because we're going in chronological order. So we're going to be talking about every US president, but we're not going to be talking about policies because that's lame and divisive and controversial. We're going to be talking about something much more important, which is how much Rizz factor do they have? And I'm sure that statement is not going to age this video in the slightest.
How much drip? Like, what is their drip? What is their vibe?
Now, what's unique about this alignment graph is that in the past, it's been very diplomatic between us, in the sense that we will give our thoughts and give our cases and nudge each other, and then we'll agree on like a happy medium. But in this case, each one of us will have total authority over one axis, and the other person will just be there to try and discuss with them and trying to convince them otherwise. Because on one axis is judging presidents by sexiness, and because we've had 45 men so far, and I mean, we don't have confirmation of Kamala Harris yet, but we've had 45 men so far, and Will Maddox is a raging homosexual. So I have given Will Maddox the authority over the sexy to foul axis.
It is true. I am quite regrettably one of those gays.
Yeah. So yeah, who is going to be who is the ultimate presidential daddy, and who is, you know, just swipe left all day?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have taken authority over how cool they are, because you are one of the cool kids.
Well, that's what you think, yeah. So yeah, I will be taking authority over cool to lame, because yeah, that's my area of expertise apparently.
Yes, I watched Connor grow up. I was secretly in the background all this time of his life. And I watched him like swagger around with all the popular kids, and he was like, I'm so cool.
The thing is though, that's quite subjective. I did not hang out with the group of people that got the most bitches and did the most drugs, but I think a lot of those guys were lame. So
but yeah, that's what's going down. For context, neither of us are American, so...
God, no. Jesus Christ. God. Absolutely not. So, the closest relation I have to American is my mum's dad was married to one, and they had a child. So my mum's half-sister is American. Half American. And my mum's step-grandmother is American, and I'll be visiting them at the end of this year, and they are lovely. They definitely do not want the orange candidate to win. I can tell you that.
I don't actually know if I have any American heritage, at least not as far back.
Yeah.
I should consult my cousin on it, because he's been doing the what's the website called? Ancestry?
Yeah.
He's been doing the Ancestry thing and like plotting out our family tree. I should ask him if there are any Americans in the family. As far as I know, there aren't.
My dad
we have no.
My dad did an ancestry thing, but not online. He did it like at an actual professional thing. We found out that we have Viking heritage.
Oh, explains a lot, to be honest.
Mm.
Neither of us are Americans, so we are coming at this from a very disconnected angle, but that doesn't really matter anyway.
No, it doesn't, because you don't have to be American to judge how Rizzy
sexy
someone is.
I only say this because you said policy wouldn't affect this.
Well,
I did bring this up
it's not. It's not a driving force. It can be one if you think that it can. Like, if you think that it's conditional, then yes, it can. But it's not. We're not judging them on policy specifically.
Yeah.
Like, if this was like a serious political alignment graph, it would be policy and character, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I did bring this up to you the other night. Like, would policy influence the sexiness or the coolness? Like, oh yeah, you freed the slaves. God, that got to come.
I would say, okay, my perspective on this is that it's not about what policies you have, it's the way that you implemented them. If someone did like a really cool policy and they did it in a very sassy way, like, that would be cool. You know what I mean? Because like you can like implement an executive order, but you can do it in the most by the books, really like not fun way. Or you can go out there in public and basically just slam the other side. Like, and that's way more interesting.
True, yeah. Well, this is going to be quite the interesting experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and also the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that we're going to judge them in their prime. So it doesn't necessarily have to be when they were in office. Because a lot of presidents were very old when they were in office.
Right, I see.
There is a couple of examples where them in their prime is when they were in office, but for most of them, it's actually when they were younger.
Yeah, I was about to say that there's a lot of younger men, or relatively younger men, than I was expecting. So,
you do have to take into like consideration is that a lot of the early presidents are just paintings; they're not photos. So we can't judge them on their actual appearance because there's no photos of them. We can only assume what they look like based on the paintings that were done of them.
It's a bit different to his portraits.
I think the biggest thing there's a couple of presidents who are in that transitional period. Like, I think Martin Van Buren or John Quincy Adams, you can kind of see the difference between them when you look at a photo and when you look at a painting. The biggest difference I've noticed is the eyes. The eyes are very different in a painting than they are in a photo.
Yeah.
But you can still tell it's the same person.
Yeah,
it's just,
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
there.
But it's all we have to go on. So, yeah, anything you want to say before we crack into this very important judgment?
I am just along for the ride. Like, you brought this idea up to me like a week or two ago, and I was like, okay. And now
I think it's one of the silliest things I've ever done on the channel, but I really want to do it. I don't know. It's just I just think it's fun.
This is second to the TARDIS teams as food that we did like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That wasn't on my channel.
Yeah, that was on the Universal side channel.
Do you have like a specific type, or do you have like a range of men that you find attractive?
I'm all over the place, really. I'm not like, I know definitely some gay men are very like only people within like a 3-year age range of me, and no femmes, and
yeah, I think it's what like Frank Ocean only likes white boys or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I as far as granted, I don't really think about it too deeply. A cock's a cock,
You slut.
I don't really. I don't really have a specific type. I have had quite a range of men in my side. I've had people my age. I've had people significantly older than me. So I have quite a pool of taste. I'm not wording this well, but I think you get what I mean. So hopefully I'm fairly open-minded enough to give a lot of these people a fair shot.
Imagine if they all just go straight to the left because you're just so easy.
Well, it's possible.
Nah, I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so let's start with Mr. George Washington.
Oh, hello, George.
Yeah. So,
well,
what do you think of this boy? He looks very Pirates of the Caribbean, doesn't he?
I see what you mean, yeah.
But without the blonde hair.
I will admit, one thing I'm not particularly into is fancy clothing.
Well, you're going to have to put up with that for a while because we're in the
yeah, true. So putting that aside,
the aristocracy era lasts probably about 80 years at least.
Yeah, and granted, this is probably like already like putting every president on like an uphill battle here because like that extends to like suits and stuff. I'm not really a suit person.
Well,
I'm more into casual clothing.
I mean, there's sort of three eras of fashion. It's like from here up until Lincoln is kind of aristocracy, and then between like Civil War up to just before Kennedy is like military commander. And then from Kennedy to now, Joe Biden is like the executive.
Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
Yeah.
So throughout all of this, I'll have to do my best to, ignore the costuming. Like pretend they're all wearing like tank tops or something. So for George Washington,
he's got very sullen eyes, doesn't he?
Yeah. There is something weirdly romantic in the gaze he's giving. Like, in a weird way.
He's got quite soft cheeks, George Washington. He's sort of like... He's not quite twinky, but he's definitely got a soft face compared to other men of the time, I think.
Curly hair can be cute. I think it's meant to be curly hair, according to this painting.
Yeah. He's got curly hair.
I also just like the name George. I think it's a very cute name.
I think George Washington is an epic name in itself.
Yeah, that's true. Probably his biggest what's the word I'm looking for? His biggest detraction, I don't know if this is actually him or if it's just the way this painting is done. The bridge of his nose, it just looks like a straight line. If you know what I mean, like it doesn't, like, how your nose sort of like goes like I'm doing it on the camera. People probably know what I mean. How your nose sort of like goes like in between the eyes and then it comes out.
This is what he looks like when he was in office. So does that help? Like, explain anything to you?
It's a little bit better. Yeah, his nose seems very prominent across both of these, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He does have a very piercing gaze in the presidential portrait.
Yeah.
So he workshopped that dreamy stare into a penetrating glare, which, I like penetration, but
politics is a hard job.
Yeah, I think he's a fairly decent looking guy. Again, probably the bridge of his nose is the most distracting thing about him, but if he were just like your average like grinder guy, just hit me up like, wanna smooch.
I'm just gonna say, for this video you should probably have some standards, even if you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Just makes it easier if you have some standards. So we can actually make this a diverse graph.
Yeah. So having a look at it, I'm gonna be. I don't know whether I'm being like overly nice or overly harsh, but like halfway to sexy, I think.
All right, we'll put him there. And I think, I mean, it's difficult to compare presidents from like the 1700s to presidents from now. It's just so different in terms of exposure. But I think he definitely fits somewhere around here for
He's
cool
definitely one of the
factor.
cool kids, yeah.
He's not like, he doesn't have like swag, but he definitely has a lot of respect.
Did he actually see, I am very, very dimly informed on the history of America. So was he actually involved with the actual, getting Britain off America's back, or was he just the guy put in charge just to manage?
Well, there's a reason why they call it the United States of America, in the sense that there were two factions of people that accumulated over 200 years after, Columbus did his thing. You had North and South. One side was pro-slavery, the other side was anti-slavery. One side was pro-France, one side was pro-England. George Washington united them together. That's the point, is that he was able to bring the two sides to agree on what the Constitution and the amendments and the laws and, just basically just recognizing an authority over those two sides. Unfortunately, by 1860, that shit went downhill and Abraham Lincoln had to solve it with the Civil War. But for the time, he did a great job of uniting very different-minded people. The only thing that's really against him is that despite privately being against slavery, he didn't outlaw it because he didn't want to disrupt the unity. And financially, it was too hard for him not to free his slaves immediately. So basically what he did was he had them freed upon his death.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of his only little black mark. But I do understand why in like, the late 1700s, why it was a difficult decision for him, even if I disagree with it.
He probably would have been shot in the head, just like Abraham, if he'd done that. Best faith. I would assume he was like quite, he wasn't cruel to his slaves. He probably was quite hospitable. That's what I assume, but we don't know. It was such a long time ago. Yeah. We'll be nice to you, Georgie boy.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard. I mean, given the fact that this, again, as I said, his term was 1789 to 1797. He was pretty progressive, given the time. It just happened that slavery wasn't one of them.
Yeah, that's fair. So but
I do think as much as you may not be attracted to it, I do think his dress wear for the time is quite well prim. He definitely looks like he looks like a character to me.
It's definitely it's not something I'm attracted to, like on a base primal sexual level, but I can appreciate the aesthetic of it.
But he's not a top tier wrestler.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
He's
all right.
a PogChamp Daddy King.
So next up, we have our one and only federal president, and that is Mr. John Adams.
Federalist,
yeah. There were around this time there were two main parties. It was Republican and Federalist.
Right. I know of like Republican and Democrat. That's obviously very modern.
Well, so at that time, Democrat and Republican was the same thing.
Right, so this was another party altogether that has, I guess, died out in the years since?
Oh, yeah, it died out very quickly. And then there was the Whig for a bit, and then there was also like Democratic Republican versus National Republican as well. And then by the time you get to Lincoln, it's the National Union. Both sides came together. And then after that, it's just Democrat and Republican post-Civil War.
Right. I see. Right, so this guy, bit of a downgrade.
Yeah, he's not the best looking guy. I mean, I'll show you his his incumbency photo as well. It is also not great, especially in the hair region.
Weirdly, I think he looks better as a DILF than he does as a young man, quote unquote. It's very rare that people, look better as they age, but the judge look kind of suits him more than whatever the hell that first portrait is. I will say that his hair when he was younger is alright. I can imagine it like looking fairly cute on anyone else. But his actual face, it's
very pudgy.
He's got like it's pudgy, and it also looks weirdly ancient. It looks like someone's like superimposed like someone's grandma onto his face. It's a bit weird. He's got a very hooked nose.
I will say this though, and this will come down to cool factor. Despite being conservative and nationalist, he did not own slaves.
He has a very intense gaze, kind of puffy lips. Yeah.
He kind of looks like he's got an airbag inside him.
I see what you mean about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be kind of mean to this guy and put him not quite all the way to foul, but like probably... Yeah, further. Yeah, just a bit further. So I'm being really mean to him. Ever so slightly further. Yeah, that's good. That'll be good. I like the color of his hair, as I said. But he looks a bit too much like some like elderly. Again, I'm kind of
even as a young man, he looks elderly.
Yeah, it's weird. Again, he looks better in the older presidential portrait, but it's not like a sexy better. It's like, he looks like he kind of looks like a judge in his presidential photo. So
as much as it's cool that a guy from who was president from 1797 to 1801 did not own slaves, he's not a cool guy. He just doesn't I feel like he's really just, I don't know, he's very just sort of, I wouldn't say he's like an absolute fuckwit, but he's just, I don't know, he just seems like he's not a cool guy. He just seems really lame.
Even his name, like George Washington and John Adams.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did he do? Because I know George Washington united everyone, but what did John Adams do?
Oh yeah, so John Adams was pro-France, anti-Britain. That's what I do know about him. He was more conservative. Yeah, he was Massachusetts, which is like New England, so sort of northern. He was a northern president, not a southern. This might surprise you, but pre-Civil War, it was actually the Democrats that were Southern, mostly. Like, it was the Democrats that were pro-slavery and the Republicans that were against it. It's strange to think like that, but that is how it works. It was only after the Civil War that flipped, like that class flipped, like where after the slave thing happened, the Republicans became very wealthy and right-wing.
Still anti-Britain, that bumps his sexiness up a bit.
Yeah, but also you gotta think about it like this. It's obviously not. It's a bit dark, but the people that economically relied on slavery was the working class. because they couldn't afford not to have them, which makes sense why the Democrats were the racist party at that time, when you think about it, right? Yeah, I'm pretty content of putting John Adams around here. I think he's just so blech. Thomas Jefferson.
Much cooler name. Oh my god, look at that Chad fuckboy smile.
Yeah, so this is definitely an upgrade over John Adams, without a doubt. Not only in terms of looks and cool factor, but also politically as well. He's one of the ones on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, he's one of the ones on that. Which,
sorry, America, but that is probably the ugliest monument I've ever seen in my life. But ignoring that.
Yeah, but I think it was he. Oh, I need to go on his Wikipedia, but he did that's right, the Declaration of Independence. That's his biggest achievement.
Ah. Yeah. So he's the guy who drafted it.
Yeah, that's his primary contribution.
Is that different from the Constitution?
Yeah.
Which is the one that says the right to bear arms or something?
I think that's the Second Amendment.
Right. Okay. As I said, I am a very, very ignorant.
First Amendment is, if I'm not mistaken, First Amendment is free speech, and Second Amendment is arms.
Right. Yeah. As I said, I'm very ignorant British boy.
I mean, that is very American, though, isn't it? The first thing they think of is free speech. The second thing is guns.
Let us say what we want, and then fire what we want, and then get hot bitches.
Anyway, yeah, your thoughts on Mr. Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, he gets bitches, and he knows it. Like, look at that fucking Chad ass smile. Like that side eye. It's probably
it's probably a fashion thing of the time, but I do think his hair is quite square.
It's kind of Hartnell-esque, if you see what I mean.
It is, actually. It is Hartnell-esque, yeah.
But, like, it complements his face really well. Like, it almost, like, adds to his allure, in a way.
Also, there's something about, like, this is probably just a thing of the time, but there's something about someone using a quill that's really cool to me.
Yeah. He does seem to have very red complexion.
Yeah.
Which does make him look like he has hay fever or an allergy or something.
No, he's just a ginger.
But other than that, he has that very like knowing smirk, kind of youthful. Is this his presidential?
No, it's not. I'll show you I'll show you his presidential incumbency. He still has like so much like. Look at his face. He's got so much distinctness in his face when he was in office.
Yeah. He has a very prominent chin. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's the eyebrows. The eyebrows are.
They hold a lot of weight.
That's I think that's the difference between him and George Washington. As George Washington when he was young, he has quite soft eyebrows. He's more pretty. Whereas Jefferson is more like distinct, and his face has more tone.
Jefferson has a very prominent forehead as well. He has a very strong forehead.
Yeah, he looks like a man of conviction.
So yeah, I'd say in terms of sexiness, he's pretty far to the sexy, even further than George.
Yeah?
Probably even like just touching sexy, I'd say.
So like around here?
Yeah.
And
obviously, like, some of this is going off his energy than, like, the actual, like, not to say he's unattractive. He is, like, pretty good looking. But, like, the sort of, the attitude that portrait exudes is doing a lot of the lifting as well.
Yeah. I think I would say for cool, he's pretty high.
He has a cool name as well.
Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, he just sounds like he was born to be a historical figure.
Yeah.
I think there is a small handful of presidents that are cooler than Thomas Jefferson, but he's very high up there.
So he drafted up the Constitution?
No, the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence, sorry?
Yes. Yeah.
I get them confused. Does that make him cool?
Oh, I'd say so. I mean, it's a libertarian policy. Unless you're a fucking like policeman or a dictator, why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Sorry, it's really late at night here. I'm.
That's right.
The brain rot is setting in.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the last of the founding fathers. We have James Madison, who looks very different, young to old. But here we go young first. Look at those sideburns.
Yeah. Wonky eyes, but
you can tell it's the same guy, but it's just it's the difference in like hair, like an age is a lot.
Yeah. His eyes look off in both portraits. Again, I don't know if that's the artists or if that's him.
I think he's probably of the four, he's probably the most aristocratic looking, fashionably wise.
I see what you mean by that. Yeah.
Yeah. Very private school looking.
Yeah, he does look like a bit of a smug twat in his younger one. His older one, he looks like he just wants to murder you.
No, he's just being stern, I guess. But he drafted and promoted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, so he's a big name.
Right, I see.
Unfortunately, in contrast to that, though, his family was a very prominent slave-owning planter. So there is that.
Checks out.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. There's an energy coming off of him that I'm not turned on by. Like, he has nice skin, I suppose. But he looks very smug.
What are your thoughts on the hair and the sideburns?
I've had friends with pretty impressive sideburns similar to that, and I have had crushes on those friends. So I could get the appeal. It is kind of ruined by how puffy and out to the sides it gets, because it makes him look. I can't even like pin down exactly what it is, but oh, excuse me, sorry. His eyebrows are on fleek, though, to borrow a term from basic bitches. Okay, yeah, that's convincing me to be a little kinder on him, but still not, like, amazingly. Not as bad as John Adams. Maybe, like, kinda halfway, ever so slightly over halfway. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. I feel like he's kind of there to me.
Okay. So he's you say he drafted the Constitution?
Yeah, Constitution and Bill of Rights, but also a prominent slave owner.
Yeah.
In terms of his charisma, he definitely has a sense of authority, but he's just too clinical for me. He doesn't have like he doesn't have a social charisma. He has more of like just a sort of an office level of charisma to me. He doesn't strike me as someone who's like you want to hang out with. Like Thomas Jefferson has and George Washington to an extent. They have an actual like they had this like, how do I say it? Just like this aura. Madison doesn't really have an aura.
Yeah, I can imagine Jefferson being like quite sassy to you. This guy, not so much. Looks like he mostly just understands money than anything else.
Next, we have another James. We have Mr. James Monroe. This one was tough because there's not many photos of him young, so him in this photo is kind of basically around his presidency, like very just similar timing.
Not quite vampiric, but there's something about him that's a bit. It's like he would drain your blood.
Yeah. Here's another photo. This is the presidential photo he had. He definitely, like, you're right that he definitely has those Dracula-esque vibes.
Yeah, which I guess is could be appealing to someone with a vampire fetish, but not for me. Werewolves for life, but no. But yeah, not really my thing. He's not unattractive though. I will say that there is something to kind of like Charles Dance in a way.
Yes.
Like, I'm not
True.
attracted to Charles Dance, but I recognize that there is.
I think straight men like Charles Dance is the real answer.
Yeah. But like I recognize that there is like an energy to him.
I mean, if this was Charles Dance, the cool factor would be through the roof.
Oh yeah. Excuse me, I'm yawning a lot. Right. Sorry, just getting better in my seat. But yeah, he does seem like he has that prim and proper, but a bit more cool than the last guy. Like he seems like he knows his way around a social situation.
Yeah, he's known for the era of good feelings, and also the Monroe Doctrine. So he was all about limiting European colonialism.
I see.
Yeah. Very
reminds
democratic.
Me of the Schalke Doctor in a way. I don't.
Yeah, he does. You're right. He does have a bit of a Richard E. Grant-ism about him. I think on the cool factor, I think because he's a bit too cold, I can't put him at charisma level because you're right in saying that he doesn't have enough warmth and dynamic presence, but he definitely has a sort of an icy enigma about him.
Yeah. As for sexiness, I'd put him ever so slightly more right. Like, probably entirely, like there. Because I recognize the aesthetic, I don't want to say aesthetic pleasure, but like the aesthetic sort of like benefit of his appearance. Like, he definitely looks like he could, I wouldn't want to fuck him.
I think he looks good for what he is, but it's not a sexy kind of thing.
That's fair. Like, if I saw him, and I wouldn't want to fuck him purely on the basis of his appearance, but I imagine if he had the right things to say, he could persuade me. I know that sounds dodgy, but you know what I mean. If he had the right, and he seems like he would have the right words. Oh yes, I don't fucking know where I'm going with this.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, politically though, he's probably one of the better presidents. So there is that.
Okay.
Anyway,
nice.
Unless of course you're pro colonization, pro slavery, fair enough. More power to you.
Not really.
Right, now we have our first second generation president, John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams. So you'll notice that there is a massive difference between young and old, and that's hair.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think for this, we will focus prominently on the young photo, because I think in the old photo, he looks pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh, dearie me.
Yeah.
Not just his hair, he loses a bit of eyebrow prominence in the in his presidency.
He loses a lot.
Yeah. There is something kind of nice. I put him halfway between the middle and where George Washington is. Actually, no, I'd put him just about on the same level as George, I think.
Okay.
The only thing that's letting him slightly down is, again, I don't mind older guys, but grey hair is a bit Yeah,
he grayed very early.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a very sort of aesthetically nice face.
Yeah, I think that's what's convincing.
But it's
like,
weird.
He has a very...
It's weird to see that with that hair. It's quite weird. It's like sort of a strange contrast.
Yeah, he has nice complexion. He has a nice mouth. He has very prominent eyebrows. Kind of has your eyebrows in a way.
Yeah.
The gaze he's giving is kind of dreamy. I can get on board with this.
He was the first president ever photographed, and he was photographed like very, very close to his death.
Okay, not as bad as I was expecting. He actually looks better than his portrait. So...
Yeah. He, I mean,
kind
look,
of like...
Look, he was close to 80 years old when he had that photo.
Very impressive sideburns.
Yeah. Although, interestingly, this photo of John Quincy Adams is like similar age to Trump and Biden.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of like the Quincy in his name. That sounds like something about that.
I think that definitely doesn't help him.
Yeah.
I think he's cooler than his dad, though. I think he is cooler than his dad. But probably not. I feel like he seems to me. I mean, I might look a little bit at his policy. He's a bit of a, like, he kind of did two parties. He was Democratic and then also National Republican as well. It was initially a Federalist like his father, but then that all changed, and then eventually he became affiliated with Whig after. Like his father, did not own slaves, so that is a good thing. Maybe that makes him cooler than James Madison.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. But I can't put him above the line.
That's fair.
You're right. Like the Quincy thing, just it's the Quincy thing, and just like the strange hair.
Quincy, like that actually does sound like a British like name.
I'll tell you another reason why he's not cool. The entire point of having an American president is because George Washington didn't want to be a king, and this is our first Nepo baby. Yeah, there's a few of those.
Yeah, good. But yeah, like the Quincy in his name, it almost sounds British, which for an American president is almost like traitor in a way. not his fault, but like it's like, oh. Yeah.
It should be bloody, I don't know, Chase Trick Adams or something.
Yeah, Chase Trick. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that placement. I think that's fair enough.
Right. Not to throw you off instantly, but next up we have Trump's favorite president, Mr. Andrew Jackson. He almost looks like a wax figure.
Huh. Why does something about him remind me of Dan? You know, the Doctor Who companion Dan. Like
it's the chin, isn't it?
Yeah. Is he the start of the military ones?
No.
Because
no. He
just has that sort of like those shoulder tassel.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but no, this is still aristocratic America.
Right. He definitely has that sort of like Dilfy, take control.
I feel like his eyebrows look like he's always terrified.
Oh god, yeah, it looks so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he certainly has he certainly has a good head of hair, though. I will say that, and that's probably why why Trump likes him, because he has a good head of hair.
He looks like a scientist in a way.
Yeah.
Like in the old photo.
He was the first pure Democrat, by the way.
Let's see. Was this when they were still shitty?
Yes, he was a planter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, ignoring that and going purely by
to be fair though, he wasn't criticized much for that. The biggest problem with him was his treatment of Native Americans. That was his biggest problem. And I think Native Americans are very cool. So I don't agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't agree with it anyway, but I especially disagree with it in this context.
Yeah. There is like a sort of like Chad daddy, I wear the pants in the bedroom, honey kind of energy to the portrait. There's something about like his posture and, you know, his facial expression, ignoring the eyebrows, like his facial expression. There is something about that is kind of appealing in its own way. Not saying I want to fuck him, but like, I don't know. I'd leave him just slap bang in the middle, to be honest.
Because I do think as a young man, he was a relatively handsome guy. But at the same time, he does look strange.
Yeah, the length of his face is also very weird.
He looks like an action figure. He doesn't look like a person.
Something about him reminds me of Hugh Grant as well. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it is about Hugh Grant, isn't it? He is definitely, as much as like his Native American policy is really stupid, he's definitely cooler than Quincy Adams. Is he as cool as Dracula though?
What did Dracula do did Dracula do anything that was like massively out of line?
This was James Monroe, right? No, yeah. James Monroe was a significantly better politician than Andrew Jackson.
Okay, then we'll probably side with Dracula then.
Yeah.
Purely on the Native American level.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll put Andrew Jackson there. How about that?
Yeah. Definitely like kind of Dilfy, but not quite amazing.
The next one is gonna be quite the wild card. This is definitely a saucy one. He's not a traditional American. It is Martin Van Buren.
Oh.
Very different.
Oh.
Very different. Yeah. Look at this. We were judging him off his photo. My God. Look at his hair.
Okay, so in terms of facial structure, I don't see anything like inherently wrong with him. Like, I don't think his face is like disproportionate or anything. But the baldness doesn't do him too many favors. Like, again, I'm not anti-baldness, but like the baldness, but then with like sideburns is a weird combination. But the thing that's
he's probably one of the presidents that has the worst hair, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that's really turning me off across both portraits and the photo is the way he's looking. He looks like a psychopath. He has a very strange glare. I don't like the way he's looking.
Yeah.
So I'm putting him sort of like John Adams level, maybe a bit further right.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's one of the most foul-looking presidents.
Yeah,
he does
kind of look like a wizard in the photo, which is kind of cool in its own way, but like it's just no.
I think he looks like a wreck. I won't lie. He is uniquely for the time an anti-slavery Democrat.
Huh.
So that's something. In terms of cool factor, though, I don't think he has much Rizz. I think he's really like, I don't know. He seems like a nerd to me, to be honest. As much as like anti-slavery is great, I think I have to put him down here. I actually think he's worse than John Adams in terms of Rizz. Because at least John Adams has like the judge character. Van Buren is just very not cool.
He has a panty sniffer vibe to him that I'm not.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I feel like I can imagine just being some poor wench like back then, like just opening her curtains and then like he's got her pantaloons and he's just sniffing them, and it's like, oh, like that's the vision I get from that first portrait. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think Hugh's just listening to me say all this and is just very confused.
I'm drifting in the night.
Yeah, so yeah.
Would you mind getting me a drink, please?
The anti-slavery policy stuff, well, that he believed in, was cool. But that's not enough to save him.
I'm going to show Hugh. Look at this psychopath.
That's more than a 4 head. That's more than a 5 head. That's a 7 head.
Yeah.
Deary me.
You could write the entire Constitution on his head.
Yeah.
Right. The next president died 1 month into office from dirty William Henry Harrison.
William Henry Harrison. Yeah.
From dirty.
I know some things.
From dirty Washington D.C. water. That's how he died. He wasn't even assassinated. He just died from bad water.
God. And he shares my name. Well, the William part. But
William Henry Harrison. Yeah. His face reminds me of my granddad, actually. A little bit. He looks like he watches Top Gear. Probably because of the way he crosses his arms. He seems like a bloke.
He reminds me of John Levine, but John Levine now.
Yeah.
In a weird way. Very prominent nose. William Henry Harrison. So I'm showing you.
He reminds me of someone.
Oh, that's not
He
good.
says, oh, God.
I think, unless I'm going crazy.
See, you get a fellow gaze input here.
He's got, out of all the presidents, he's got the highest collar.
That is true. There is something about his posture that is like, I like the confidence. Something about his hair reminds me of the War Doctor. I think it's the fact that it's like
Bit like Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
A little.
I kind of see what you mean. A little bit.
I'm surprised they even got a painting of him during his presidency, given he was only alive for like 30 days.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Oh my God, that is unflattering.
That's a widow's peak.
Yeah. But yeah, his ears don't do him any favors. His nose doesn't do him any favors.
That hairline does nobody any favors.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Again, as I said, judge him on the first photo mainly, I think.
Yeah. His facial structure overall isn't too bad, and his eyebrows do have like fuckboy energy, but yeah, like some of his attributes are a bit distracting. So I'd put him again. I think I'd keep him where he is.
Okay.
I think just slap bang in the middle.
Yeah, he definitely gives me dad vibes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, maybe he is the most mid.
Yeah, because he was in office like far too short to have any significant sway, surely.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's interesting about, like, in terms of cool factor, is that there are ways I like about how he's presented, but there's also ways that I don't. I'm quite conflicted. Because he pops his collar and he's kind of got swaying hair and sideburns, but he also has just such a dad energy, like the way he crosses his arms and looks at you. It's very...
Yeah.
Very unself-aware.
It looks like if he were alive in the 20th century, he would have listened to that song. Like, his favorite song would have been, how's it go? Like, the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. The man in the moon. Like, that would have been his song. I can't remember what that song's called. I should look it up. Cats in the cradle. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, because of his death, we ended up with his vice president for his term, who was arguably one of the worst presidents, and that is John Tyler. But we're not judging it on policy; we're judging it on Rizz. So what do you make of John Tyler?
Nothing too objectionable. Kind of posh twat, but like, yeah, I'd put him more towards the sexy end. Okay, a bit more gaunt. Again, not ugly. I wouldn't say.
In the first photo, he kind of looks British to me.
I see what you mean. Yeah, maybe. God, I'm gonna get crucified by some Americans in the comments. But a bit further to the left of George Washington.
Okay.
But I think he has a very nice face, a very fair face, like decent hair for once.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
The hair's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Is he as sexy as Jefferson though?
No, Jefferson just has the chat because this guy, he has a very like aesthetically pleasing face, very proportional face, fair eyes, decent beard, decent hair, yada yada yada. But Jefferson has that allure that just isn't, that can't be topped. So yeah.
Yeah. Admittedly, even though he was a massive pain in the ass for slavery, and that whole bullshit deal and civil war looming, I actually think he does deserve to be in the top range because he actually is quite cool in himself. He does have a level of charisma. But where do I put him? I think it's...
I don't know.
You're right that he's definitely posh. He has a posh smugness to him.
Yeah,
he's probably he feels more put together than Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson seems quite like, I don't know, just a bit of a mess. Is he cooler than James Monroe?
I'd say so. He has a very he's very posh twat, but he does seem like from this painting he does seem like very quick-witted.
Yeah.
Even from like the older photo, he looks like he'd be very sharp.
Yeah, he is quite sharp. I don't want to put him above Washington though.
No.
And that's probably a political thing. I just think in terms of policy, Washington and Tyler couldn't be more different in terms of success.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put him there.
Did you say he was quite a nightmare for slavery?
Yeah, he was sort of like, he's one of those presidents where it's like, I'll just let the South do what they want.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not great.
No.
We must disclose to all the viewers that the sexiness ranking and the coolness rankings have nothing to do, well, mostly nothing to do, hopefully nothing to do with their actual real life actions. It's mostly based on Rizz and visual pop.
I don't think it's a hot take to say slavery bad though, is it?
Slavery is bad.
Yeah. All right, next up we have James K. Polk.
Ah. Huh. Why does he remind me of Bill Murray? He actually looks weirdly better in the photo.
He looks more distinguished as an old man, and he's got that mullet.
Yeah. Dad energy.
He was a protege of Andrew Jackson. I know that. And he's from Tennessee, so he's a Southerner. He's a Southern Democrat. He's quite divisive in a way because his biggest achievement is gaining more states during the Mexican-American War, which means that the United States had more land that they owned, but a lot of people don't like that because it's like you're You're denying. You're denying. Yeah, you're denying Mexicans of the land that they believe to be theirs. It's like,
Yeah, kind of sus.
Yeah.
This time I'm going to ignore the painting because I don't think it's actually very flattering. I'm going by the photo. I think facially he's quite the DILF.
Mm-hmm.
But the hair detracts.
Unlike some of the other aristocrats like Quincy Adams who have like hair that goes wild, his one is quite groomed by comparison. In both photos as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's very groomed.
For sexiness, I think I'd put him sort of George Washington-ish level.
Okay.
Like I think facially, again on the sort of like DILF perspective, yeah, he's hot. Like his eyebrows are very.
Do we agree? Because he's quite different to Quincy Adams, isn't he? Like Quincy Adams was when he was a young man, he was quite soft in the face, whereas Polk is the opposite. He's more distinguished.
Oh yeah, he's very grisly.
Yeah,
I like that. The only thing that detracts is the hair. I'm not a fan of it. Like it is very well groomed, but I don't think it's hot.
Okay. Washington has those kind of like nice curls.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Cool factor, admittedly, even though some of his presidential stuff was a bit sus, I actually do think he has a lot of rizz. I actually think he might be up here because he has a piercing gaze. He's well dressed. I mean, he's not the kind of guy you'd want to be like close friends with, but he is someone who strikes you as like an important person in the room.
He does strike you as daddy.
Yeah, he definitely has like, I almost want to say he has Bond villain vibes to him.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like a control, like it. He feels like he could both be a villain and a nurturing father type, like at the same time.
Like a conservative father.
Yeah.
Even though
I only want what's best for you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of energy.
Yeah, but I'm putting him below Jefferson. Jefferson's still more Chad than him.
Yeah. Like he's like, I only want what's best for you. He doesn't actually care what you actually want. He just wants what he thinks is best for you. There's like a controlling daddiness to that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Some of the words I've said tonight, I don't.
Yeah. He also has dimples as well, which helps.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Who's next?
Next up. Oh dear. Now this is one of the biggest contrasts between young and old that you'll see. Zachary Taylor, Whig president. So that's him as a young man. You know, a little bit scary looking, but you know, fairly well kept. And then you get to his photo. My God, look at this man. What a fucking ugh.
Oh, he melted. Yeah.
Yeah. Very like private school bully to me. That's what he makes me think of.
Yeah.
You notice that we're starting to like. I mean, in the photo of him when he's old, you can start to see the fashion change because he's wearing military stuff. So
yeah, I see what you mean.
But yeah, obviously, you know, I think judge him on his young photo more so. I think that's probably the best option here.
Yeah. He has nice hair, very fair hair, nice complexion.
He just doesn't look very happy. That's my biggest problem. He doesn't look cheerful. He looks like he would be like, I guess, just kind of like, just not fun to be around. He just seems a bit too sort of dour.
I see what you mean. I'd say put him to the left a bit. Like,
okay.
There. Because I think he's very aesthetically pleasing, but as you say, not much warmth.
I feel like you'd struggle to love Zachary Taylor, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like I'm trying to imagine like being under him, if you know what I mean.
It would be
It
it would be quite a cold route, wouldn't it?
yeah. It's like, yeah, you're kind of hot, but at the same time, where's the love, homie?
Mm.
But it feels like he doesn't make love. He
was not only president, but he was a military leader. He was a career officer.
That explains everything. He looks like not quite 1,000-yard stare, but like
yeah, he was a
maybe that explains some of the coldness.
Remember we talked about Mexican-American War with Polk. He was a general during that. So yeah, he's very stern. Very stern. See, I think he was in the cool kids group, but I don't think people would have liked him very much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I will admit there is something about like a really toxic army general that is quite charismatic.
Yeah. Some people just root for a controlling daddy.
He's definitely not as cool as vampire James Monroe, though.
Yeah.
Maybe put him on par with Andrew Jackson.
That's fair enough.
Actually, maybe slightly higher, because again, as I said, Andrew Jackson just looks lost. He seems like a fool, whereas Zachary Taylor knows what he wants. He just happens to be really hard.
Yeah. Even as in the older photo, like when he looks melted, a bit like a jacket potato, he still knows what he wants. Like,
yeah,
he still wants you on your knees to service him. Not that he'll necessarily get any pleasure out of it, but like it's just what he wants.
So, Zachary Taylor died just over a year into his presidency from a stomach illness. His VP, Millard Fillmore, took over, who was arguably an even worse president. I just think the Whig party in general is just fucked. Like, they're all trash. So yeah, this is Mr. Millard Fillmore. He looks very, I don't know, there's something kind of Stephen Fry about him to me.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit sad. Kind of Trumpy.
Yeah. But no, judge him on his young photo, mainly.
Yeah, young. Keeping it young.
I mean, he killed an entire party. And he was instrumental in the passing of the Compromise of 1850, which led to a brief truce in the battle over the expansion of slavery. So there was, I think the problem is just execution, really. That's the issue with him, is that he tried to do things and it just didn't work, and then it led to more bad things after.
Yeah. I'd say it's the inverse of the last guy in terms of placement.
So you put him right of the vampire.
Yeah. Because he's not, like, hideous. He's fine.
Yeah.
Again, the Stephen Fry-ness is... yeah.
The thing is, Stephen Fry's quite charming, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Probably because he's
it's like
gay.
If you took Stephen Fry... Oh, yeah. It's... Cause Stephen Fry I'm not, like, into, but, like, there is a charm to him that I could imagine, like, swaying you. Whereas this guy's like Stephen Fry, but sad.
Yeah. I think in terms of cool factor, I think we're going all the way down to, like, Van Buren levels.
Yeah, not great.
Maybe he's not quite as a panty sniffer as Van Buren, but I think he's below the judge.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It does seem like he has some sort of initiative, but like not. He seems like he's a little bit of a pushover, at least in the portrait.
Yeah, he was not a good politician, I'll say that much. Of course, because of Fillmore's just lack of competence, we now enter a period of time when basically from here the Civil War just kind of like, it's like one mistake after another, like the dominoes just keep falling until we get to Abraham Lincoln. The next guy is Franklin Pierce, who is the first one where his incumbent photo is the photo of choice. He looks at his best when he was president.
Huh. So he's got drip. Like he definitely thinks. It's hard to say.
I feel I'll go first on this if you want, because it might take you a bit longer to figure this one out. I think what William Henry Harrison was trying to go for is what we have here. I think he's much cooler than the middle, but at the same time, he was a terrible president. So,
he does seem like kind of cool, but facially, no. His hair's a bit scraggly.
He enforced the Fugitive Slave Act, which was return of enslaved people who escaped from one state to another. So they were forced to return.
Ew.
Yeah. Bad. But he does have an element of drip, though, I think.
Yeah, he does have drip. Again, his hair's scraggly. It's not great. Something about his the dimensions of his face. There is like a sternness there, but at the same time, it's not quite. No, not really. Definitely to the right somewhere. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Is he better looking than Millard Fillmore?
No.
You don't think so?
I think he's further right. Yeah. Okay. I think there is good.
All right.
The eyebrows are fine, but like the rest of his face,
I'm gonna move.
It's like that bit in the mind. It's like that bit in the Mind Robber where like you have to put Jamie's face back together and you get it wrong. It's like his face doesn't really like mesh well.
I'm gonna put Monroe slightly higher. He's above Andrew Jackson and Zachary Taylor, but below the vampire for me.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Right. Next up, we have arguably, well, a lot of people would agree, the worst president of all time, or at least one of them. But though interestingly, some people believe the first gay president because he never got married, Mr. James Buchanan.
I get the gay vibes.
He looks like a baby.
Yeah, but like, he gives me the panty sniffer vibes, but in the gay direction.
I think I'll go first. I think lame-wise, he's fucking rock bottom. Like, he is just a bad man. Not a cool man. Not a charismatic man. Bad politician. Just I don't see what's likable about James Buchanan.
I just like the idea of like having him bang on the lame sign, so I'll just keep him there. I think he does look better in the photograph than he does in the portrait.
Interesting.
Like when he loses the baby fat.
I mean, he definitely has like soft twink vibes, doesn't he? But a little bit of just a bit chub.
Yeah, when he loses like the baby, like the heist, like you know those like American high school films where there's like the fat bully kid, like that's the vibe he gives in like the portrait. When he's an older guy, he loses all the baby fat. Like I wouldn't say he's hot, but he does seem a bit more distinguished.
Yeah, so in terms of his presidency, he was the straw that broke the camel's back in the Civil War. Like, it happened when he was president. So he could have prevented it somehow. Like, he could. I mean, obviously it's not all his fault. There's people before him that made mistakes. But as president, he could have prevented it, and he didn't. And war happened, and like how many people died? Like 600,000, I think it was.
And he endorsed the slavery.
James Buchanan basically was, how do I say this? He was an advocate for states' rights. And so he basically just did nothing. Like there was this very obvious like boiling point tension between the North and the South that was going to break, and he just did nothing. He just sat there and let them do whatever they wanted. and it was
Right,
his job. It was his job to stop the conflict, and he allowed it to happen.
So when you say states' rights, like the North were like, no, free the slaves, and the South were like, no, give us our slaves. And it's like, well, both are entitled to do what they want.
He's like the worst kind of centrist, basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. But I can see why you'd put him in the middle for sexiness, because he does have like soft Twinkie vibes.
Yeah. Not saying I'd fuck him, I'm firmly neutral. That's
And now we get to the guy who cleaned up his mess. One of the most iconic presidents of all time. We have Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, a guy who has naturally messy hair, which is quite unique.
Cute.
Yeah, very, very sullen eyes though. Holy shit, he looks like an animal. His eyes are so deep.
Yeah, and contrasting with how big his nose is, that does make quite the contrast.
I will say, I think during his presidency, he was quite ugly in the face, but he's very charismatic.
There's something like kind of wizardy about him, at least in that photo.
Yeah. I think he looks better when he's younger without the beard. I think the beard makes him look pubic. He looks like a mummy from a sarcophagus.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I do also think, like, it's a weird paradox, because I also think he looks better from the front.
Yeah, I know. If there was a photo of him from the front when he was young, that would be better.
Yeah. I'd put him left a bit. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I think Zachary Taylor's more handsome, isn't he?
Yeah.
In terms of cool, though, I think we're going pretty high up. Like,
yeah.
Do you have any arguments against that? Like, he fucking freed slaves, man.
Freed slaves had probably so weird.
He took a bullet for them too. He got assassinated.
Yeah, probably the coolest assassination of all the presidents.
He got shot in the back of the head with a revolver.
He seems cool. I do like his. He's not the first dark-haired president, but like his dark hair is very striking in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jefferson probably has more Rizz, but I think when we talk about like coolness in terms of like him standing up for people's rights, he has to be really high for me. I think he's above Polk.
Yeah.
And probably on par with Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
He looks like he would take absolutely no shit.
I know that I've read that he was a very eloquent speaker as well. So that helps.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell just from the photos. So that says a lot.
So, yeah. Are we happy with that?
It looks like he takes absolutely no shit, and there is like a sexual appeal to that.
Yeah.
But yeah. No complaints from me.
Yep. Unfortunately, though, Lincoln was sandwiched by two of the worst presidents, because after Lincoln was assassinated, we had Mr. Andrew Johnson, who basically he almost completely reversed all that work by making it very difficult for black people to have rights after they've been freed. So yeah, fuck that.
Probably because he was scared of having his brains blown out like.
And you know why this happened? This whole thing happened because the National Union required a ticket with a Republican and a Democrat. And Lincoln was the Republican who freed the slaves, and Johnson was the Democrat who did the opposite. And because he was
his vice president?
He was the vice president during the National Union. They had to. It was originally Hannibal Hamlin when it was just Republican, but during the National Union, the leader of the opposition had to become the vice president. If that makes sense, it was part of the rules. Yeah.
So the vice president was the opponent to the president.
Yeah. It would be like if
Interesting.
Trump was the VP to Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
God.
would not go down well.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But facially, not much wrong.
I mean, he's not a bad-looking guy. He just looks really mean. He has a scowl.
I'd put him. There's the gap to the left of Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
There is there's a daddy energy to him. His face, like his skin, doesn't seem too great. Like it's not like a flawless complexion. But
I don't like his hair. It looks strange.
It is a little weird. But I'm going mostly on his face.
He kind of gives me like Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face vibes.
Yeah, but I'm going mostly by his face, and I think his face is fine.
He looks like a guy who never smiles.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Prominent eyebrows, proportionate nose for once.
Yeah, I mean,
not someone.
I'm actually quite conflicted on whether or not he's cool, because I could see an argument either way. I hate him. Like, I really don't like the guy from what I've read. But at the same time, he does have an authority about him.
Maybe you could just leave him slap bang in the middle.
Yeah. Leave him there for now. Maybe move him later. So,
maybe.
That is the era of aristocracy. You will, in this point forward, you will see some people dressed this way because it'll be photos of them when they're young. So it's pre-Lincoln presidency. But in terms of incumbent reign, we now move into the military era of presidency, which I assume for you does help. Maybe. Do you prefer military wear over aristocracy wear?
No real change in opinion. I'm not really a fan of really any formal dress wear. In my own personal life, I almost never.
I'd say they from now on they start to look more like 60s Who side characters.
Yeah. Yeah, in my personal life, I almost never dress formally. I'm a very hoodie and t-shirt kind of guy, but again, I'll try to appreciate the aesthetic of it rather than the sexiness of it. Also,
this is the point where we start to almost universally see photos and not paintings. I can't remember if there's any more paintings after this. Oh no, I think there might be one, because it's like a very young photo, but we're almost out of the painting era. So, Ulysses S. Grant.
What a name.
You'll also notice that facial hair becomes very fashionable from this point too. Post-Lincoln.
Definitely to the left.
Yeah, I thought you'd like him.
I do. Probably I don't know how controversial this is. Probably joint leftmost.
So alongside Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has.
I know beards.
He has more of a contemporary look than Jefferson as well. He's very good beard, nice hair.
Yeah, beards are very contentious among gays. Some gays really don't like beards. Hugh doesn't like beards. I don't mind. I don't mind beards.
Well, I think it depends on what beard it is. I think his beard looks really good on him. It suits him. He's also got those deep eyes as well. I mean, the only thing I would say about Grant is he doesn't have much of a smiley face. He's a little bit sullen. But
yeah. He seems like the perfect blend. He seems like the type who would take control in the bedroom, but is also sensitive enough to ask if it hurts. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yeah.
There's something about the expression he's pulling there. It's not quite sad, but there's like concern in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's nice.
I think.
I like.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I like the style of his hair. I was about to say I like the style of his hair too.
Mm. Yeah, he's a well-groomed man.
Yeah.
I don't like him as a president, but I will admit he has Rizz. I think I'll put him just below Jefferson.
What did he do as president?
Well, he was a post-Lincoln Republican. He led the Union Army to victory in the American Civil War, so he's got military strength. He did work with the radical Republicans to protect African Americans during the Reconstruction, so he undid a lot of the damage that Johnson did. That part of it is good, like that's probably his best asset, but there's just, it's probably more like he's just like divides opinion.
Right. What do you not like about him?
I have to, because I can't remember like who did what sometimes. I remember things that happened, but I can't remember who did exactly what. There's probably just a lot of struggle. I know that his slavery thing is a thing of like he would own them because it was economically beneficial, but he also advocated for their rights when he was president. I don't know enough and to make a proper judgment, but I know that a lot of people don't think he was very good because of just things that happened in his reign.
Yeah, he does have Rizz. I agree.
Yeah. Right, now I'm very interested to see what you think of this next one. We have Rutherford B. Hayes. He's got a Peter Davison vibe to me, for me.
I kind of see what you mean.
He looks like a philosopher when he was president.
Yeah. Something about both photos is rubbing me the wrong way. He looks like, you know, that cliche of like that superstitious thing of like old-timey, he's way before the Victorian era, but like those old-timey like Victorian photos where like if you like look away from it and you look back, the photo will be slightly different and it's like possessed by a demon or something. That's the vibe that his photos like have. Yeah. Like I feel like he wants to like come and attack the viewer.
But would you admit that he, as a young man, he was aesthetically quite dapper?
Yeah. Probably. Oh, it's hard to say. I just think his facial features fit the structure of his face, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, all right.
He's got quite good eyes. I'd say that.
Yeah, very staring eyes.
Yeah.
Kind of just somewhere in the middle. I don't really care exactly where.
He does kind of have like, especially when you look at his presidency photo, he seems to have like a ghost behind his eyes.
Yeah, that's probably what I mean. Like he just seem like a haunted Victorian photo.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Just in the middle, I think is fair.
Once again, another, bravery in combat, major general, one of those. A lot of the presidents around this time were just, came out of war, basically. That was how they earned their stripes. Hayes was a staunch abolitionist, is that what it's called? Defended refugee slaves in court proceedings, so there is that. Very anti-slavery. Okay. I think he's probably... I'm not sure. I feel like he's probably just somewhere around here. Is he above or below Andrew Jackson? I'm not sure, actually. I think I might need to bring Jackson down a bit and put Hayes like there. Sort of
all right.
Similar level to Pierce, I think. Because I think they strike a similar chord, I think, in terms of charisma. But he doesn't have as much energy as Mr. Vampire. James Monroe.
Mr. Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I don't really have any strong feelings other than, again, he looks like a possessed portrait.
Yeah. All right, the next one is one of the smartest men to ever be president, but he only lasted a few months in the role because he was killed, and that is James A. Garfield. So we've got one of him as a young man, and then we've got him as president. Definitely striking eyes, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Very square
Again,
head.
Probably on the Lincoln level.
Yeah?
Yeah, around there. Maybe a bit further left.
Okay.
Because I think he's very pretty. He has nice hair. He has a nice nose. Eyebrows are decent. Proportionally fine. Nice bone structure.
He looks very different with a beard, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think my only issue is, like, especially in the young one, he doesn't look very fun. He looks very snooty.
Interestingly, he looks a lot more fun when he's older.
Yeah. But he looks very snooty.
I definitely feel like he's the guy who spends more time reading books than he does, like, socializing. He's intellectual. He's not really a social guy.
The way he's staring, in a weird way, it reminds me of, like, this photo of a very young Margaret Thatcher. There's something very cold about it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Jesus, she looks like soulless.
Yeah, like a bitch.
Yeah. I feel like in terms of coolness, I mean, he's very smart. That does give him some. And like, I do think when he had the beard, he does look quite. He has quite a bit of character.
Yeah. Looks like a forgotten Morbius doctor in the young person.
Yeah. I almost want to say like above Hayes, but below Monroe.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Yeah, sort of around there. It's unfortunate that he was killed because it's one of the biggest what ifs in presidential history. Because he was replaced by Chester A. Arthur, who, in my opinion, looks like an incel.
Yes. Not quite panty sniffer level, but
No, he's not a pervert, he's just like a fucking know-it-all.
Yeah.
Like, he's more of like an intellectual incel as opposed to like a perverted incel, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, he's like a Ben Shapiro type.
Oh. Yeah, for me, he's got to be, I think in terms of cool to lame, he's low, very low.
Yeah.
Around here.
It's a shame because I think the top half of his face isn't too bad. Like, I think his eyes and eyebrows are alright. But like the mustache and like the sort of like the face he's pulling, I'm just like, oh no.
His fucking sideburns in both photos are absolutely appalling.
Oh, I didn't even notice this. Like, oh my god. Oh god, yeah. Okay, yeah, no.
Look at him as an old man as well. It's still shit. He's got like a dog's face.
He seems a little nicer when he's older, but in that young portrait, oh my god, yeah. Who's the black and white one on the right?
What, Franklin Pierce?
Yeah, on his level.
It's like here.
Yeah.
He's not an ugly guy, but I just hate the way he looks. He's so unappealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. Does he have a unibrow as well, or is that just shadow?
I think it's shadow. I think he has a thick brow bone. That's why the shadow looks like that.
Right.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, so now we get to, as of recording, the only president to have 2 terms that are not back to back. We don't know if Trump's going to have that or not. We'll find out.
Oh, God.
We have Grover Cleveland. The young photo is one of the hardest ones I had to find, but I found this. You can sort of see him. And then
enhance.
This is him as president.
There's a gilf energy about him.
He definitely has that military raincoat aesthetic, doesn't he? And the beard and sort of the...
Okay, going by the younger one.
His head's cut off in the alignment graph.
Yeah. Something about the young foot. Obviously, it's low res and distance. Something about him reminds me of PewDiePie. I don't know why. Just a little bit left, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like he wants what I keep forgetting all these people's names. Bloody hell. The guy on the same level as Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, you mean Abraham Lincoln? Oh no, sorry, you mean Ulysses S. Grant. That's the one you mean, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he wants his energy but isn't quite getting it. Like in a sexual kind of way. But that's all I have to say about him. Again, the photo isn't the best, so...
Yeah, he seems very mediocre to me. I mean, he's well dressed, I guess, and he's good facial hair, and I don't know. I just want to put him like here.
It's the contrast between how thick his beard is, but how thin his hair is as well.
Yeah,
that's throwing me off a little.
I think in terms of cool, he's probably on par with Quincy Adams.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the ones I had the least to say about, honestly. In between his two presidencies, we had Benjamin Harrison, who, like Thomas Jefferson, is like a name that was made to be famous. That's him as a young man, and then as president.
Again, looks... See, it's funny that you went out of your way to get so many photos of these guys when they were younger, because a lot of them actually look better when they're older.
Yeah, in this case, I'd probably agree.
Yeah, no. Again, we're going by the younger photo for this, so to the right.
His beard is messy, isn't it?
His beard is messy, his hair is thin, his nose is very long and disproportionate. His ears are huge.
He kind of looks like an elf.
Yeah,
in a military like outfit. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So how far right are we going?
Further about there, yeah.
Yep.
A bit more to the left.
Okay.
I think about that, yeah.
Now this is our this is also a Nepo baby. This is the grandson of William Henry Harrison.
So he's like, well, I get to be, unlike my granddad who just croaked like 30 days in, I get to actually take the job. Was he any good in the job?
I mean, he was very good with like environmental stuff, like national forest reserves was one of his big things.
Not too bad then.
Yeah, he strengthened the Navy. But his unsuccessful policy was proposals to secure federal education funding, as well as voting rights enforcement to African Americans. He failed at that. He tried, he was well-intentioned, but he failed.
Bless.
In terms of cool factor, I don't know.
As you say, he looks like an elf, so that just detracts.
He's honestly probably like down here. Probably on par with the just maybe slightly above the judge. Another very bad president, William McKinley. Admittedly, though, you might like the way he looks.
Oh.
Yeah. He's one of the ones who looked a lot better as a young man. I think as an old man, he looks very stern and like dead inside. Still has he still has a chin, like a nice cleft in his chin, but he definitely doesn't look as like warm as he does when he's young. When he's young, he definitely has more of a like.
He retains his chin but loses his neck.
Yeah. Again, I definitely think he has private school vibes, but it doesn't detract too much.
Yeah.
He wears that hat, you know, in the hat in his hand, the magician's hat.
Yeah, I'd say to the left a bit. Maybe like halfway left.
Yeah, sort of like around Polk, Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair.
In terms of cool, I think private school thing does detract slightly, but he's up there. I think he's just maybe similar to Washington.
Yeah.
He definitely seems like he was one of the cool kids. Yeah, I mean he's definitely a handsome man, for sure. I'd agree with that. But he doesn't. So do you think he's better looking or worse than Quincy Adams?
Better.
Okay.
Because the darker hair and it suits his face more than Quincy.
Yeah.
Quincy has the grey that doesn't mesh with his face.
I think I'll put Washington slightly more left and do this. There.
Who's next?
Oh yes. One of the most iconic presidents of all time. He's on Mount Rushmore. It is
the other guy.
Mr. Theodore Roosevelt. One of you can decide sexiness, obviously it's your access, but for me, we're going on cool. He's top. He's the coolest by far. I mean, maybe he's tied with one other or two others, but out of the ones so far, without a doubt. He got shot in the middle of his speech and kept talking. He had his horse stolen and he took another horse and went and found it and beat up the guy and took back his horse. He has such a cool mustache. He is just absolute charisma. He is an iconic character.
Yeah, I put him pretty far left.
Yeah. So
in his presidency, Delph.
Yeah, he's definitely big in his presidency. But as a young man,
yeah, there's an appeal to.
As a young man, though, quite fit.
Yeah, I don't think the moustache suits him as a young man, but I think it suits him in his presidency.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to John Tyler.
Yeah.
But the cool factor, he's just. I don't see an argument why he's not top. There's nothing about him that isn't cool. He's just such a character.
Oh, he can top me.
Yeah. He in America, he is as iconic as Churchill, but he doesn't have all the really dodgy stuff that Churchill has.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the last progressive Republicans as well. He was a soldier, a conservationist, a historian, a naturalist, explorer, a writer. He's the man.
The other three on Mount Rushmore, they came a century or so before him.
Oh, Lincoln was only 40 years before.
Oh, right.
But George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, yeah, that's century before.
I see.
Yeah. But yeah, Theodore Roosevelt is definitely one of the most popular presidents.
He seems cool.
Yeah. Next up, we have the man who, in his presidency, was the most overweight president, more than Trump. Can you believe it? It's William Howard Taft. But as a young man, different. Looks different as a young man than as an old man. I think he has more Rizz as president, though. Even if he is less attractive, he has more charm when he has the mustache and the smile.
I agree.
Yeah, although he does have a bit of a Colonel Sanders vibe about him.
He's like Colonel Sanders meets Father Christmas.
Yeah.
In a way.
He's very soft in the face. As a young man.
He has very soft complexion, very nice hair. But a very weak chin.
Yes, for sure.
So I'd put him left, but like not too far left.
Okay. Where do you?
Maybe about there, yeah.
Yeah. In terms of how cool he is, how cool is Father Christmas and Colonel Sanders?
I'd say Father Christmas is pretty cool. Pretty damn cool.
He's not a Chad though, is he? He's like,
no.
He's a softie.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe
a softie who everyone respects, I think is a... I don't know if that suits who he actually was.
Yeah, because he's a politician. Let's not forget that. He's a politician.
Yeah.
He's definitely not as popular as Roosevelt. I can say that much. It was kind of like it was Roosevelt's endorsement that kind of got him the election, really. But he had controversies over conservation and antitrust cases.
I see.
He's not the greatest president, to be honest. I feel like maybe just put him in the middle for coolness.
It's probably fair enough.
Yeah. Be slightly higher. Right. Woodrow Wilson. A very divisive president. Some people say he's one of the worst. Some people say he's one of the best.
Yeah, I know. We've entered the 20th century.
Yeah, so this is the World War I president.
Yeah.
Once again, looks very different as a young man than as an old man. Woodrow Wilson gives me Slytherin vibes.
I see what you mean. So, Sterndilf.
President Sterndilf.
See, I would have put him all the way to the left if you hadn't mentioned the Slytherin thing, because now I can't unsee Draco, and now I'm a bit like, oh, maybe not.
So he's going left then.
Yeah, not touching sexy, but like maybe in that sort of general
So you think you think he's more attractive than Theodore Roosevelt and John Tyler?
Well, he doesn't have the moustache. Again, I'm going solely by the young photo.
Yeah.
Okay. The hair, though, that is a bit of a because of, again, the Draco Slytherinness of it. I think facially,
I struggle to see how he's better than Grant. Like,
yeah, okay, let's keep him there then.
Like, if he's on par with Jefferson, that's reasonable, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Grant is just such a Chad.
Yeah, no, he's not better. Yeah, sorry. There's been so many presidents that the ones we've had are starting to slip off my brain.
Yeah.
But looking at Grant, yeah, no, he's the better looking one.
So in terms of cool to lame, this is tricky. He definitely has charisma. He definitely has like conviction, but he's also not a very warm person. Maybe sort of similar to like Zachary Taylor, like around there. He's got like an icy charisma as opposed to like a really charming one.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I think he's actually a little further right.
Sort of around there.
Because now, yeah, I not only see Draco, I see bloody Joffrey in him as well now.
Yeah, so. He does have a Joffrey. Yeah, he is very icy, Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah. So like that initial thing of, oh, he's handsome, is like starting to dull a bit, and I'm like, actually, oh.
He looks like a famous twat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does look like a twat, and he probably was.
Yeah. I'll be nice though, and I'll leave him there. So.
He did have a very progressive stance on foreign policy. And he was
nice.
He was the leading architect of the League of Nations. But economically, he was one of the biggest reasons the Great Depression happened. So there's that.
And then he was like, yeah, let's go to war.
Yeah.
Which, is a bit divisive amongst the people.
Yeah. Now we have another very bad president who also died in office. Warren G. Harding. Very incompetent and surrounded by corrupt people. He kind of has like Lethbridge Stewart's aesthetic, but without the warmth.
I see what you mean. He reminds me of. He's like if Lethbridge Stewart were a panty sniffer.
But he's like a regal panty sniffer as opposed to like an incel.
Yeah, he's not like an incel. He's like you know the stereotype of French people that they all just like want to sexually harass you?
Yes.
That's the energy he's giving.
Yes.
Like, oh, you cannot
like,
say no to me.
bloody
like
Bon Voyage in The Incredibles.
Yeah. So like, it's not like he's ugly per se. He's very aesthetically pleasing, but like he's not attractive, I would say.
Okay.
It's probably a little bit right. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Similar to James
being
Monroe.
Nice.
Similar to James Monroe.
Yeah. I'm being nicer than I probably would be. Because again, there's nothing like wrong with the way he looks. It's just the energy he gives.
Yeah. I have to put him above like Benjamin Harrison and John Adams because I think he's more dapper.
Yeah.
Is he better than James Madison, Quincy Adams? I think so. I think he, as much as he was a useless president, like he definitely has a piercing gaze, and that means something. I think he's probably on par with Andrew Johnson for coolness.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I could see how someone could think he's like this suave, confident Chad, but he's not quite. He hasn't actually got it.
Yeah.
It's like an illusion.
So when he died, he was replaced by his VP, Calvin Coolidge, which is funny because we're doing a cool graph, who was a significantly better president. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, how much better he was as president. It makes you think, why wasn't Calvin Coolidge just the president to start with? He's definitely soft in the face, though.
Okay, it looks a little better in the older photo. Because in the young photo, he looks like a 10-year-old who's been forced to dress up. And then someone's like...
He's quite skinny as a young man.
Yeah, and then it looks like someone has like scrunched his face up like paper.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
I've just realised, it's just clicked to me, bloody James K. Polk looks like Sylvester McCoy. That I couldn't figure out what I meant, like, what I thought of that, and then I realised.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. In the young photo, I mean,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I put him to the right.
Mm-hmm. How far right?
Proportion. A bit further. Yeah.
He's cleaner than Benjamin Harrison.
Yeah. His hair's on fleek. Nice jawline, etc., etc. But it's just like his eyes are so low and his nose is so like weirdly stubby and his forehead is huge, and I'm just like, no. It's proportionally weird. And he has, like, not to borrow a line from Moffat of all people, but he's got ears like rocket fins.
Apparently he has quite a dry sense of humor. He's sort of more of an introverted type.
I can tell that from his photos.
But he had a very widespread popularity. And he kept the country very stable during a tricky economic period. He was a small government conservative, but he wasn't like a toxic right-winger. I think in terms of cool, though, he doesn't really have much Rizz, does he?
Not really, no.
No. He's not like a panty sniffer, but he's just so nondescript.
He does look like he'd hide in the corner at a press conference.
Yeah, I feel like he's a bit too shy. I want to put him above Arthur though, because he's not an incel.
Yeah, he's not an incel. He's not a panty sniffer. He's
Sort
just
of
a bit like,
similar to John Adams.
Yeah.
Right, next up, oh boy, we have Mr. Great Depression himself, Herbert Hoover.
Already his name doesn't
An
do
absolute, and despite being a Republican, an absolute economical disaster of a president. Also Slytherin vibes.
Yes. Slytherin mixed with high school, like, I mentioned like the pudgy American high school bully in like elementary school films. He's definitely got that vibe.
Yep. He's very, very unpopular as president.
And I can see why.
Yeah.
He's also got that like thing where like, what is that thing? Is that just the lighting? But it looks like one side of his head is shaved. If you know what I mean.
And he's got an undercut, I guess.
Yeah, it's that. I think that's why. Yeah, that's a bit. Ugh. Yeah, put him to the right.
How far?
Just touching the foul, I'd say.
Yeah. Is he as bad as Van Buren?
Not quite. But he's still not great, I would say.
Yeah, he's such a pig.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I really don't like him at all. I think he's genuinely like sort of. Do I put him maybe there?
He looks like he would have bullied me in school.
Yeah, he's not quite as like strange as Van Buren, but he definitely he's certainly foul. But I'll put him there. I think I have to put him like around this area. He just seems like such a mean person.
Yeah, he looks like a bully. Like,
yeah,
it looks like he deliberately just made his fellow students' lives hell.
I've noticed that we're very low on sexy, lame, and cool foul.
Yeah, interesting pattern.
Yeah, maybe that'll change. One of the most iconic presidents. He served 4 terms until his death. He had 12 years in office. He took America through the Great Depression and World War II. It is Franklin D. Roosevelt. I think
judging
if you look
from the name,
look at it. If you look at his old photo, he definitely has an aura. I will say that.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I wouldn't say he's quite as likable as his, I think, were they cousins or uncle or whatever.
I was about to say, was it another Nepo?
Yeah, it is. But I think it's, how is he related to Theodore? I can't remember if it's like his uncle or his cousin.
Kind of hot DILF. But the younger photo...
His wife was very loved, though, Eleanor Roosevelt. She was like universally... She's like one of the most iconic first ladies.
I'm not super keen on like the middle parting. But other than that, I think he's pretty sexy.
Okay. So, how far left are we going?
A bit further than Draco, I'd say.
Okay, but not as good as Jefferson and Grant.
No. One thing that's holding it back is he does look a bit young.
Well, look at the old photo.
Well, yeah, in the old photo he looks obviously old, but in the young photo I do feel like I'm going to be put on a watch list by
right.
sex.
Yeah, he wore glasses at Unitech, I think.
Yeah, I think a bit snooty in that one, but if I combine, okay, maybe a bit more right.
He's not as
same level.
He's not as like
I'd say-
warm as Teddy, is he?
Yeah. Same level as Draco, I'd say.
Okay.
Like, aesthetically pleasing, just a bit snooty.
Yep. Okay. Now this is going to be tricky because he's one of the most acclaimed presidents. There is one thing he did that was very controversial, though. It was a bipartisan decision, but he still went through with it. Was the containment of Japanese Americans during World War II. That was a problem. But he got them through the Great Depression and World War II, which is... Well, he didn't get them all the way to the end, but he got them very far. Very famous Democrat, very progressive. But is he cool? I mean, he certainly has an aura. But, like...
He's a bit of a... Like, he's definitely aristocratic. He's definitely got that vibe. He's definitely a very confident businessman, but at the same time, he's also kind of a beta at the same time.
Yeah. I think it's...
Like, I feel like he would want to bottom, if you know what I mean.
Is he cooler than the vampire and McKinley? I'm not sure.
Like, even in a straight context, I imagine that like she would ask him to eat her pussy. He's not the kind to demand like, yeah, suck my dick, bitch. It's the other way around. He's like, oh yes, please dominate me, mummy.
I
Like,
think purely for his achievement alone, I will pop his head out of John Tyler.
I like how I'm theorizing about the like sexualities and like preferences of all these like long dead politicians.
Yeah. So now we have the man who was president at the end of World War II up until 1953, Harry S. Truman. Now, if you were to tell me, find me a photo of a stereotypical scientific advisor during World War II, it would be this. Because look at him. He looks like it. He looks like a World War II scientist. Doesn't he?
Yeah, and not on the good side, I wouldn't say.
Definitely.
That uniform is... Yeah.
He's definitely a nerd.
Yeah. Which side do you think he's fighting for?
Well, you say he looks like a Nazi?
A little bit. The comb over doesn't help. Also, the circular glasses as well.
Yeah.
Just he does look nicer as a old guy.
Yeah.
But the young photo of him, he's on the right. Not like the furthest right, but he's like he has got that sort of that SS vibe that I'm not into.
Yeah, he does. How far right are we going?
I don't want to be too mean. Let's put him there. I'm not turned on by Nazis.
Harry Truman, I mean, there were positives to his presidency, but he's not a cool guy. He isn't. He just does not have res. He's probably sort of around the panties nevers.
God.
Yeah. So
it looks like he would have loved Star Wars.
Yes. Unfortunately though, he died in 1972.
Yeah, he just missed it.
Yep. So we get to the final president of the military era. This is the man who led the European, what's it called? The European, I can't remember what they called it, but European Conference of World War II and beat Hitler from the American side. And that is Dwight D. Eisenhower. A very, very popular man and a very, very progressive Republican. Probably the last one we had. Probably the last, really moderate, well-loved Republican. I mean, Reagan was well loved by America, but he's very right wing.
Sadly, he looks like an alien. But
Yeah. He's a. I mean, look, he is the most military general of all presidents by far. I assume he was probably elected mostly because he beat Hitler.
Probably,
but actually, he's probably like because I'm more of a like because I live in New Zealand, I'm more of a Democrat leaning person because both of our major parties are very similar to Democrat. But he's probably the last Republican that I actually really like. The only thing though is with Eisenhower is he did not quite Trump level, but he did have a bit of some iffy stuff with the Mexico border, like putting people in camps if they were illegal immigrants, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But overall, he was pretty solid.
Yeah. Sadly, on the sexiness scale, he's going in the right.
Mm-hmm.
Probably there, yeah. He's got Martin Clunes kind of energy. Like,
He really does. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Not into that.
Yeah. I wouldn't call him like a super cool guy, but he helped to kill Hitler, so I'm putting him above the line.
Yeah, that's fair. And then, like, as an older... Like, this is... as I said, most presidents actually look better when they age. This is the opposite.
Yeah.
He does.
He's very dusty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we move into the executive modern era of presidency. So these are the ones that I think will be the ones that you will actually know some things about, because these are the ones that actually have like a lot of coverage in, modern fiction, modern media, modern schooling.
Yeah, these are the ones that have more... Obviously, they've all had a lasting effect to this day, but these are the ones whose effects are more immediate. And
this is also the point when politics become democratic is left in America and Republican is very right wing. It's like at this point, it's not quite at ideological levels yet. I think it's when you get to Reagan that it becomes like that. There's still definitely a level of civility between the parties. But basically with every term from here until Trump, it's kind of like a rolling ball. And then by the time you get to Trump, it's just like pure toxic division. Anyway.
Hopefully the pendulum swings back the other way soon.
Yeah, well, depends who takes over after him.
Yeah.
Mr. John F. Kennedy.
Blam.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, what happened to him? Just blam.
Yeah.
In the head.
He is probably, I think he's the most womanizing president of the bunch. He's the one that had the most affairs.
Yeah, Marilyn and all that.
Yep.
Marilyn fell for this guy.
He certainly has nice, he has nice sort of, what's the word, like kind of waxy hair.
I like his hair, yeah.
Yeah.
I like his eyes. I like his nose. He's got a very Giga Chad chin, though. He actually looks more cohesive when he ages.
Yeah.
Because that young photo, he's got like a very, like, not quite twinky, but like a very, like, he's got a Giga Chad, like, really strong chin.
But a skinny neck.
Then, like, yeah, and like the top of his head and all that. Whereas when he was president, he was a lot more consistent.
Yeah.
Despite that, I can kind of like by president standards. Yeah, I see his sex appeal.
So you feel like he belongs on the left?
Yeah, probably one of the leftmost, not more than the leftiest of the lefts.
Okay. Is he
more than Draco?
Similar to like Wilson? And...
More than Draco.
Okay, so he's more than Teddy, but less than Jefferson and Grant.
Yes, I think that's fair.
In terms of cool, he's pretty high up for me.
Yeah.
He's very iconic. Where do we put him? How do we get him in here?
He also did that awesome. I've heard his speech about we choose to go to the moon.
That's true.
I like
Cuban Missile Crisis.
that speech. As an astronomer, space nerd guy, I approve. His voice is very dorky though, but then again, it's also been parodied to death by obviously like Mayor Quimby and The Simpsons and all that stuff. So
I think I'm gonna put him here where you can see one of his eyes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think he's a product of his time, John F. Kennedy.
And his time was tragically cut short.
It was. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for Lyndon B. Johnson, his vice president. Johnson is a massive downgrade in almost every regard over Kennedy.
Why is he pulling a Mark Gatiss facial expression?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, immediately to the right.
Yeah. How far right? He looks like like my anxiety specialist. It's weird.
Again, he looks better when he ages, in a weird way, but not quite touching foul, not quite panty sniffer level, but like that sort of far.
Benjamin Harrison, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does have very distinct eyes. So, and I do think he has a level of charisma, but it's not really.
He looks like a womanizer, but in the exact opposite way. Like just not incel, not panty sniffer, but it looks like he just like tries catcalling girls on the streets. And they just sneer at him. Like,
I feel like in terms of his coolness, he's similar to Andrew Johnson. Maybe slightly. Yeah. Republican voters like say he's one of the worst presidents, but Democrats are a bit more divided on Johnson.
He looks like the guy who plays Nixon in The Impossible Astronaut. I wouldn't say he looks like Nixon, but I'd say he looks like the guy who plays Nixon.
Interesting.
It's like a weird middle ground.
Lyndon B. Johnson was the most recent president to not seek re-election, I believe, or at least he was one of them.
Well, before... Oh, wait, no. Joe did seek it and then quit. So...
Yeah. But unfortunately, the Democrats ended up losing that election to Richard Nixon, who...
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. I mean, absolute criminal.
Arguably the most controversial president?
He's one of them. I think Donald Trump's up there, though, to be honest. But Nixon, I mean, it depends on how Trump's sentencing goes. I think,
that's true.
like, Trump, you think about it, because, like, Trump is kind of a mix of personal issues and political, whereas Nixon was all political, like, illegal activity, and then he was also, like, racist and all that shit. He definitely has private school vibes. He's definitely, like, a snob. But
there's something bad boyish about his young photo.
Yeah, definitely.
There is, I gotta confess, there is something panty dampening about that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a distinguished guy though. Like, there's no doubt about that. He's a recognizable face, and the eyebrows especially.
This is, I'm going solely by the young photo. As far left as Kennedy.
Yeah, he's better than Woodrow Wilson, I think.
Yeah.
And as much as he is kind of evil, he is quite cool, isn't he, Richard Nixon?
Yeah.
But he and because he's such a cunt, I'll put him here.
I should look deeper into what he did, because I obviously know how much of a fucker
Watergate scandal. You know about Watergate scandal?
I know of it. I don't fully know what it's all about.
There were audio recordings of him saying very racist things.
Ah,
Yeah.
Who is this?
Nixon.
Wait, that was young Nixon.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck happened to him? He was hot.
Yeah.
Right. Who's next?
His after he resigned from the presidency for being a twat, we got Gerald Ford, who Gerald Ford, who pardoned Nixon, which was a massive mistake. Should not have done that. No one trusted him after that. He's a blondie, Gerald Ford. He's got Swedish vibes to me.
You know when Matt Smith tries looking cool?
Yeah.
That's the energy I get from the young photo.
He gives me Swedish vibes, Gerald Ford.
And then the old photo, no thank you.
No, he looks like a boulder.
Same level as Martin Clune's guy.
Oh, you mean Dwight Eisenhower? Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely has like Slytherin private school kind of Scandinavian conservative, like just that sort of thing. But he he definitely has a distinct eyebrow.
Yeah, thing. I could understand someone falling for him, but for me, just too Matt Smithy.
Yeah. I think I'll put him a bit below Eisenhower and Andrew Jackson for cool, because I think he's divisive in terms of his charisma. Like, I can see why he'd appeal to some people, but not to others.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. Now we get the biggest sweetheart darling president, and that's the peanut farmer Jimmy Carter. Who unfortunately was actually one of the worst presidents. He was really useless and just like on all fronts, but a very nice man, very humanitarian. He's very like, how do I say this? Like a very libertarian Democrat, very caring about, like sensitive about, you know, the needs of people. But as a politician, he was a disaster. Because
Gender swapped Lala Ward.
He's not an evil guy. He's incompetent. That's the word to use. He's a feckless, incompetent Democrat.
Yeah.
And he also
gender swapped Lala Ward. That's his energy.
But he still has Labrador puppy energy to me.
Yeah. Not into him. Same sort of general area as the last one.
Yeah. Now, I need you to help me out here, because Jimmy Carter has no swag, but he's a very nice guy. So where do I put him? He's like he's nice guys finish last. That's who he is.
Yeah. Go with his coolness. Like, neglect his niceness. Go with the coolness. Because I know you're like, oh, I don't know whether to rank him on how nice he is, but he's so like, he has no swagger.
Well, he's a doormat. That's the problem. He's a doormat.
Yeah. So he's not cool then. So he's low.
No, but he can't be as low as the panty sniffers because he's a respectable guy. He's the friend zone guy. That's who he is. He's not an incel. He's not an incel. He's respectful of women, but he doesn't pull.
Okay, maybe put the tiniest slither of the gap between him and the incels, and then I think you're good.
Yeah, like a gap between Gerald Ford and the incels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because of his incompetence, he was swooped up by the Chad Ronald Reagan, who was a movie star before he was president.
Movie star, AIDS ignorer, war on drugs guy.
Very right-wing economics. I think this is a hot take. I think he's the most overrated president of all time by far. Like, America absolutely loved him. I think he had the biggest landslide of all time, apart from George Washington. Like, in 1984, he won all but one state, and the one state he didn't win, he only lost by 1,000 votes.
I think he actually, like, a campaign... I could be misremembering this. I think he actually used "Don't Worry, Be Happy" as a campaign theme for one of his terms.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and he won.
He's American Thatcher. They ruled at the same time. They had the same shitty right-wing policies, but I will admit he is a Chad, and he has great speeches, and he has charisma. I do think when he gets older, his face does get a bit weathered, but as a young man, he certainly is well put together.
Yeah, I think he's actually pretty far across the sexy scale.
Yeah, how far left is he going?
Not the furthest, but there, yeah.
Same as Nixon?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
As much as I hate his policies, he has to be top for me. Like maybe slightly below Teddy. Actually, I don't know now, because like it's tough because I think Reagan sucks as a politician. Like not in terms of his speaking ability, but just in terms of his whole attitude. It's just so cringe conservative, isn't it? But then again, his speeches.
Kind of like Hitler in a way.
Yeah. You know what? I think what we'll do is we'll put Grant here, Jefferson here, we'll put Reagan.
Are we going to be massacred by Americans in the comments section?
Maybe. I don't think I think he's like, in terms of coolness, he's similar to Jefferson.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. Would you be content with this?
Yeah, fair enough. I don't feel too strongly.
Ulysses S. Grant is still the hottest to you.
Of course he is. Well, Chad.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the future is not too bright except for one, but we'll get to him later. So after Reagan, his vice president took over, George H.W. Bush Sr., who is not as popular as Reagan.
And again, kind of looks like Matt Smith in a weird way.
Okay. He looks more warm in his old photo, but he's definitely conservative. Like, you can tell he's very conservative.
He has a slightly lopsided head.
Yeah.
Other than that, I just don't really have any strong feelings on his sexiness. Just put him slap bang in the middle. Just whatever.
I don't think he's cool either. I think he's kind of lame.
Yeah, he looks like your granddad who just
stale,
wants to dance.
Very stale.
Yeah, he's your granddad who wants to dance at the wedding, and it's like, oh, stop it. Look.
Also, he said no new taxes, and then he did new taxes. Yeah.
God.
I feel like hair's good. Above the panty sniffers.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
You know, he played sport. That means something, right? I guess.
He's a panty sniffer, but only for grandma.
Yeah. Oh my god. He's a panty sniffer, but only for people his own age. Now, we have another president who peaked in his term, because as a young man, he actually doesn't look that good. But definitely a panty sniffer. It's Bill Clinton. Much like Kennedy, a womanizer.
Lewinsky.
Very perverted. He was actually like a well-liked Democrat. He's very libertarian left, which is unusual for an American. So actually his policies were really like, I guess kind of like in our field of, you know, sort of like, he's within that, sort of within our range of like kind of the policies we'd prefer. And personally, though, he has a lot of issues.
Was he or was he not kind of a cuck to Hillary?
Oh, for sure. She wears
so the cool. Yeah, so the cool factor is definitely low.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you?
Because I think Hillary was the first. Like Hillary's whole thing was like she was no longer behind the man; she was beside the man. Like
yeah, especially when he got older. Like ever since he stopped being president, like he's completely lost his balls.
Oh yeah, he's completely like he's just gone in relevance.
He flat out lied. He flat out lied about his affair, and then he admitted to it, and it was embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not very hot.
He does. He does have a bit of a John Pertwee-esque thing to him, but he's not as charming.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Put him slightly to the right, to be honest.
Sort of around like Warren G. Harding.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, I think because Hillary has his balls, I think he has to be on Jimmy Carter level, like just doormat, doormat to his wife. He actually a little bit higher because he's a bit more suave than Carter.
Yeah.
But you know,
oh, Hillary, I'm sorry that I went with an intern.
I deceived my country and I deceived my wife. Now we get to arguably the dopiest president we've ever had, and that's George W. Nepo baby, Mr. Evangelical Texas president himself, Mr. Watch This Drive.
Mr. They hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
He is good looking. He's probably one of the sexiest.
He's definitely better looking than his dad. For sure.
Yeah. I will put him as one of the leftmost. Again, not the leftmost.
So sort of Kennedy-ish.
Probably just touching sexy.
Oh really? You think he's more than Nixon and Reagan?
Let me scroll back up to Reagan and stuff. More than Reagan, yeah.
Okay, is it because he's more relatable?
Yeah, I'd say so. Reagan is a bit too chiseled. He's very good looking, but just a bit like this, a little bit much.
Okay.
There's Bush.
Bush is cuter.
A bit.
He's cuter, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. It probably tells you more about my tastes than anything.
He seems like a really like friendly Christian guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Kind of Ian Chesterton-y, in a way.
Yeah. Now this one's tricky because he's like anything he does that's likable is unintentional. Because like he's very, very dopey and like dim-witted.
And then
as a president, he was fucking useless. Like, he was absolutely like. I think we might have our first bottom left.
Damn.
Like, can you give me an like? I can't see an argument for George W. Bush being cool. He just isn't.
And obviously the whole 9/11 Iraq thing.
I mean, he caused the recession as well. He's the modern Herbert Hoover in that regard. Not as extreme though. I think for that he has to be above Herbert Hoover.
Damn.
Is he more or less cool than his dad?
More memorable than his dad, I'd say.
Yeah.
I know more about his presidency.
His dad was a better politician.
It's more recent.
Yeah.
He also got two terms. George W. got 2 terms, whereas his dad only got 1 as the primary, whereas he got 2 terms before that as vice president.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's no mistaken, George H.W. Bush is definitely the better president, but who's cooler? I guess maybe for the memes, you could say he's cooler.
I think that's fair enough, yeah.
I mean, he did bomb Iraq, though, didn't he?
Depending on your point of view, that could be cool. It shouldn't be.
No. I think I'd put him below Clinton and above his dad for coolness. He's just... Because he's just so... He's just such a loser.
Yeah.
All right, now...
What's the last 3?
I'm obviously you have authority over the left axis. I want you to give me an argument as to why this guy is not all the way to the left. Because I think, from a straight perspective, I think he's the best looking president we've ever had. Barack Obama.
It's pretty good.
What do you reckon?
Pretty good. He's definitely on that level.
What if he has sexy in his box?
Yeah, why not? Screw it.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. I still I say he's joint with the other like hottest one.
Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah. I think they're joint hot.
He's got that $1 million smile, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. And as for coolness, I could definitely say he's at the top.
I think the only argument against Barack Obama for coolness is he's a bit pretentious, to be honest.
I can see that. But of course, he made all those SNL appearances and meme sort of references.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Let's put him at the top.
Yeah.
I think he is the winner of this. He's the most top left.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. Tied with Grant for sexy and tied with Roosevelt for cool.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just remembered who's next.
This might be the exact polar opposite. Yeah, I it doesn't matter how many young photos you send. I
can't unsee the rapist in him.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
He's
the panty snifferiest of them all.
Well, I mean, he's certainly foul. Is he worse than Van Buren in terms of looks? And Herbert Hoover?
I'm interested. Put him on sexy just as a meme. Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, he is the foulest. Even
though technically he's probably more handsome than...
Exercise until you get to Trump.
He's more handsome than Van Buren and Hoover and Adams, but his whole aura is just such a turn-off.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, especially all the caricatures. Obviously, that's a little unfair to grade the caricatures, in with him, but you can't help it. The orangeness, the tiny hands, the hair, just everything.
Weird way he leans forwards, he's half center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I am tempted to keep him exactly where I've put him, and the reason why is that he's both a really bad man, but he's also very entertaining in terms of his when you don't take him seriously and you just look at it as edgy satire, he's actually a really funny guy. But he's also a really shitty guy.
he's got nerve, I'll give him that.
Yeah. He is sophomoric humor.
The lack of intelligence should not be conflated.
Yeah.
That is true. There's just something about Trump and the word foul being under him that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can see that. So, I don't know. It is very tempting to just go right to the bottom.
It is tempting, isn't it?
Cool.
No, you're right. He is he doesn't have Rizz because he just buys women.
Yeah, and accuses everyone.
And he's a narc.
And then he accuses everyone else of being criminals.
Fuck this. No, let's just bite the bullet and make him bottom right.
Yeah, he just is. We're definitely going to have people in the comment section now.
Yeah, great, cool.
Oh well.
And that brings us to...
That's not a big deal. That, in fact, is a positive.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, if they unsubscribe, then I don't have to deal with them.
Yeah. As if you have any Trump-supporting subscribers.
Who knows? Mr. Joe Biden, look at that young photo of him. He looks so different.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see him I'm surprised to know that he was a young man once.
I think this is the biggest difference between young and old photo. It's insane how different he looks.
He actually looks somewhat cute.
Yeah.
And then he still looks cute, but just not in the same way.
Well, he looks like he's like a cute granddad, but he's not attractive.
Yeah.
But young Joe Biden, that's a very friendly guy.
I could imagine. Oh my god, this is gonna be so embarrassing. I can imagine situations with a young Joe Biden as the flirty next door neighbor. It's like POV. He helps you get unstuck from the washing machine.
Well, he kind of reminds me a bit of Captain America in that
situations you could have gone with.
You know, like Chris Evans. You know Chris Evans is Captain America.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Chris Evans is Captain America in the sense that he's quite patriotic and stands up for what's right, but he's also a very soft-mannered guy.
Yeah.
And his back, like, whenever he debates Trump, all of his insults are really lame.
Yeah.
He's like, my son's not a loser and a sucker. You're a loser and a sucker.
And of course, he's very William Hartnell-esque in, a very specific way.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, so how sexy is Joe Biden?
So we go by purely the young photo, yeah?
The young photo, yeah.
Yeah. Right there, I think.
Where I've put him. So better than Washington, but not as good as FDR and John Tyler and Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
In terms of cool...
Even though we are going purely by the young photo, I still can't get old Biden out of my head looking at him. So, like, I can't...
he does have a nice smile, Joe Biden.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a shame that he's also one of the lamest people in the world.
And he also, like, touches kids in really weird ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He is quite lame, isn't he? How far down do we go?
I don't want to say he's as lame as Trump, but I could understand why someone would think that, but he's just lame in a completely different way.
Well, we've given people kudos points for progressive policy, and he is one of the most left-leaning presidents we've ever had.
Which isn't saying much, but still.
No, he's more center-left. But I think if the next candidate follows him, I think that will be beaten.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
But like he's definitely he's like the other side of the coin to Trump's lameness. Because Trump's lameness is he's just a playground bully. He just throws out insults to everyone.
He's a man-child, is Trump.
Yeah,
he's a man-child.
Like he has like his go-to in like I know like Meryl Streep once criticized Trump and Trump's like go-to insult was like, oh, she's so overrated. Like his go-to insult is just
she's like, a big loser. Things
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Biden is like the other side of the coin of lameness, just like
will you shut up, man? Will you shut up?
Gosh darn it, like that.
You're so full of malarkey. Actually, anyone who uses malarkey has to be low down.
True, yeah. I think that's fair enough.
He's better. He's cooler than James Buchanan, though. James Buchanan is such a fucking slob.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, he's like he tries to be like the hip granddad, and it works for like having nice, good-hearted policy. It doesn't work for being cool, though. You know all those memes of him coming out of the limousine with the sunglasses, and it's just so cringe.
Yeah. It really is Jova.
Yeah. Thinking about it, actually, if Kamala Harris was on here, where would we put her? She's kind of dopey, a bit like George W. Bush, but not in the same way. Like, George W. Bush is dopey because he's really dumb, whereas Harris is dopey because she's just a very sort of like whimsical person. Like sort of chirpy and a bit nerdy.
She's got very prominent chic, but she reminds me of like Mariah Carey, but nowadays.
Yeah.
You know how Mariah has very like prominent cheekbones? Like that's kind of what Kamala. Yeah. She's very pretty.
Young Kamala Harris looks like a lesbian icon.
I see what you mean, yeah.
She looks like a Asian American female David Bowie in that photo.
Yeah, she kind of looks like she'd be like an indie artist, but like in the 80s. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Is she cool?
I think she's cool with like Gen Z left wing.
Yeah. She kind of gives you like not as bad as Hillary, but like kind of mom trying to be cool.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely has mum vibes for sure. Like she's the kind of person who would think that Beyonce is a young artist despite being 42. But yeah, no, she's definitely, I will say this, she's a prosecutor and she has very good conviction. Like when she speaks sternly, she has power in her voice. You know, she did a speech the other day where she says, "I know Donald Trump's type." And it was very like well delivered.
Very, yeah.
And she's got that kind of like sassy Afro accented voice, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
You just think you fell out of a coconut tree? I love Venn diagrams. Anyway.
So what have we learned today?
Yeah, what do we think? I mean, there's no one that's cool and foul.
Who is the hottest and the coolest?
The hottest and the coolest we decided was Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because, I mean, the thing is, the hottest is probably Grant and the coolest is Teddy Roosevelt, but Barack Obama is both.
Least cool?
Trump.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we decided that Roosevelt was the coolest, just the coolest.
Teddy Roosevelt, by the way.
Teddy Roosevelt. While
Ulysses S. Grant is probably the sexiest, but Obama is
Grant is the sexiest, but just the sexiest.
Yeah.
Whereas Obama is both.
Yeah, Obama is both.
You disagree, he has a beard, but yeah, Obama has both. Yeah.
And interestingly, George W. Bush and Joe Biden fit into the like sexy and lame category.
Yeah. So yes, there is a correlation between how hot you are and how cool you are, at least for the presidents. So.
Yeah, although it doesn't necessarily predict being a good politician, because like Calvin Coolidge is in my opinion, a better president than Ronald Reagan, but they're on opposite ends.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, like those of y'all still watching, this is not based on policy; it's based on vibe. So.
Although Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves is pretty cool.
That is cool, yeah. God.
Yeah.
God, if we did do this based on policy, it would be like a world different.
Oh yeah, it would be.
And I'd sound way dumber because I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
Well, policy is different because I think policy is harder when you talk about historical presidents, because like the recent ones, we have like day-to-day information about them, whereas the old ones, we only know the broad strokes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Also, politics has become a lot more ideological in recent years.
Yeah. Yeah, turns out I think there's more sexy presidents than I expected. Obviously, sexy is irrelevant.
Well, if we're talking about sexy in office, though, it probably the number goes down.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Some are hotter when they are in office, surprisingly.
I think Barack Obama is one of the only ones where he's good no matter what. Like, he's good when he's young and old. Like, he still looks good now, even for his age.
Yeah. But hey ho, there we go.
Hey ho, there we go. Yes, this was wild, crazy shit, and probably one of the weirdest things I've ever done on this channel, but I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, please forgive us, viewers.
We'll have another alignment graph later in the calendar that's more focused on like things that we actually talk about usually.
Oh, I look forward to that one.
Well, you say that, but you're the one that planned it.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah. Is there just quickly, like just at the end, is there anything we could change, or are we happy with all the placings?
I'm perfectly fine with it. To be honest, it's like 3 a.m. here, and I'm pretty like delirious at this point. So I just sort of like see this sort of this spread, and I'm like, yeah.
See the spread. That's a perfect way to end. I bid you adieu, a good night, and a goodbye.
Good Merry Christmas-ish.